This edition of Up Close with Colin Thompson is brought to you by Lindo's Group of Companies. Why go anywhere else?
And welcome back. So just before we took the last break, you mentioned about your exploits in '53, the spirit of '53. What a watershed year for you. Making your debut in Cup Match. Then you get the wonderful opportunity to play for the MCC, the Guardians of Cricket. Also, you got opportunities to play other matches against first class opposition, which ultimately landed you the opportunity to play professionally. Yeah. Tell us more about that. So you went over to the UK and you joined.
Well, I mentioned Mr. Percival already, right? It was my playing against MCC that brought me to go to play professional cricket. I guess maybe they thought anybody that could play against England and do reasonably well could be a professional in England. So that's how the contract came about. And that's how I went to England. And
so you went to which club did you play for?
Well, I went and played in the Cornish League, Senior League for Penzance Cricket Club. It was different because I was in a different environment and I had never played on turf. So mentally I had to make adjustments. I don't know if you can imagine a youngster at 18 and a half, going to play professional cricket 3,000 miles away. But I was hired as a professional cricketer and coach. That's the coaching part I had only read about. I had never coached in Bermuda, and that was the first time effort of trying to coach.
At 18.
And I'm saying to myself, if you never read before, you're gonna have to read now. So I mentioned about my journey. Mr. Edwards and the management of the club met me at Southampton. I got off the ship. They took me directly to a radio station. And I was interviewed on the radio station, which was broadcasting to like the Southwest, Cornwall, from say Bristol down, Somerset and those counties down. And they asked me a question: what was it like bowling out someone like Len Houghton? I just told them, to me, it's probably one of the greatest achievements that I've ever had playing cricket. So they embraced me in that area, and we talked about it. What youngsters should be doing, and what they shouldn't be doing, and what they should aspire to do. Well, the cricket league in the Cornwall was north and south, or east and west. Anyway, it was two sections. My section was the west section. So what happened was that the first couple of matches, a lot of the people were saying, well, they should have left him in Bermuda. It was only after I became mentally prepared and the groundsman at the Penzance Cricket Club said to me, what type of wicket did I play on in Bermuda? And I said, it was concrete with a matting. And he said, well, would you like something close to that? I said, if you could do it, you know, I would appreciate it. So the third match I played, I got 5 wickets. And then that season, just as the more I played, the better I became. And in that season itself, I went to a place called St. Just, and the wicket was extremely favorable, and I got 8 wickets for 12 runs.
Was that your best, career best figures?
That's been my best. I played against another team which in the same section as called Troon Cricket Club, and I got 8 for 13. So those, but they were separately, like, you know. So it sort of, we just kind of steamroll. The other opening bowler was a fellow by the name of Ozzie Twenwith, and we became a formidable pair. He ended up with 65 wickets, and I ended up with 71, 72. And between us, we took most of the wickets. When I say formidable, it was like if he got one, I had to get one. But they made me the spearhead. Being the pro, you have a burden, and the rest of the team kind of looks to you to spearhead. And fortunate for me, I was young, very fit. I took the mantle and kept on going. So we won that. And that was the league championship. Then they had what they call a 35 over per team match. It was called the Winter Cup. And we won that as well. So we won all the trophies in the senior league that year. Fortunate for me, I met an Englishman. His name is R.S.W. Wyatt, and he had been the captain of England. So he said to me, would you like to play on a higher scale of cricket? And I said yes, if the possibility presented itself. He was the one that got me to play, go for interview first to Gloucestershire, then to Somerset. And I played in trial matches. I played in 2 trial matches for both counties. For the first county, with Gloucestershire, I got 4 wickets. But I was playing against the second team. In Somerset, I got 6 wickets, but I was playing against the second team. And they were very favorable. But at that time, they were only allowing 2 overseas players per club. And unfortunately, Bermuda only came to the forefront because we had played the MCC, and we were not affiliated with or an associate member of the MCC or an associate member of the West Indies. We were classified as a West Indian island, but we had no connection as a cricketing body to be embraced by them And many of our cricketers lost out as a result of that. See, at that time and point, we had excellent cricketers that maybe could have been test cricketers, but unfortunately, we didn't have the association. I've had the privilege of playing on a winning side in Cup Match, and I think maybe that's one of the greatest feelings that one could ever have if you're representing St. George's or Somerset. And Buckjuice Swan, the senior Buckjuice, he was the captain that year, and we won it. And shortly after that, he retired from the game. I can only attribute to the little success I've had because I must mention Elmer Champon, because I think he was probably the best coach that Bermuda has ever had. He wanted me to go to play cricket in Scotland. And the reason why he wanted me to go there, because in England, they had what they call the national service. That once you were 18, you got a physical, and then you were eligible for the army, right? So I ended up being in England through Mr. Reddery, but Nigel Chapel Hazel was playing for Aberdeen. He followed Champ in, I think it was 1947, and he finished his days up there playing for Nigel for a club called Forfarshire. We had a lot of people, and they gave a lot of advice. But I think for any young cricketer aspiring to play Cup Match, they have to have a committed sense of attitude for the club and stick to it. Today, I feel there is a lack of commitment, and it's making our cricket go where it's going now. Cup Match is something that is very unique. It's something that is known around the world. It's embraced with emancipation. These things, they was never described to any young, when I was coming along, they didn't speak about it. Emancipation was never thought of. It was Sir George Somers' Day and all of that's gone. And now, I think, since we are live streaming Cup Match, there are a lot of good players. But unfortunately, Cup Match is like only thought about when it's getting near of the time to play. Cup Match is something which I feel can be embraced by the whole population because there's something to gain from it. Cup Match itself. And unfortunately, and I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, I was associated with Heritage Production, who honored ex-Cup Match players. And I did research, and with Dr. Riddell Tankard, we used to go to Somerset and St. George's to speak to the players about Cup Match. And I have a habit of trying to find out, since you're in something, you must know something. And to my surprise, that there were very few, I'm talking about recent players, and some of those that are playing now knew nothing about how Cup Match came about. And I said, we have to do this more often. Talk to the young people and let them know what Cup Match means, how it came about, and why they should embrace it. But like so many other things, there's only so much that you could do to enhance these people, these youngsters. You know, my journey in cricket has been very delightful. I've played against the West Indians. I played against Gloucestershire. I played against people like, he was an opening bat for England. Very cocky fella from Yorkshire. And all along the way, Bermuda used to have a lot of tour cricket countries coming to Bermuda. And that's how we became a known entity, because of what we did against the opposition that came to Bermuda. And Bermuda players fared some kind of well.
So they kind of helped you to,
that
you had to raise your level to be able to compete with that. So that kind of motivated you, and you felt that you had something to prove, you know?
Well, I felt like this. Ever since Sir Leonard Hutton said we're no more than a village team, any team that came into Bermuda, we had to prove ourselves a lot better than a village team, which has never ever been written about a village team since 1953. I've played against Sir Everton Weeks. I bowled out Garfield Silver. It's all in print. For Doc, when he came to Bermuda. I've played against Pakistan, where Cheese Hughes got 4 wickets and I got 4 wickets. We almost won the match. It was the last 2 batsmen in. But those cricketers will defend their nationality, and if you didn't knock them down, they stayed. And they made sure that they were going to be in a position, not demise, but still where they are. So they had some good players. They had the Haniff brothers. So Bermuda itself has had a wonderful period from I can only recall about my time, and up until this present time, that they have to enhance the past if they want to go forward. So any inspiring young cricketer, if you want to play Cup Match, you could play for the worst team in Bermuda, but you could be the best bowler or you could be the best batsman. You're proving your worth, and after that you go on to play for Bermuda, because as I said, the Willicotts came from nowhere to have 7 players in a cup match team. The only people outside that was Mackie Summers, Cheesy Hughes, and Sheridan, who Sheridan and I went in a cup match. Then came Charlie Dolphin. And then there were others. They had, other clubs became like the farm clubs of Bermuda. They had a lot of people from Devonshire Rec. They had a lot of people from Southampton Rangers. So, and they had people from Warwick Club. Those clubs became the farm clubs for Somerset Cricket Club. Although Somerset produced some wonderful cricketers, like I think Richard Baisden, who to me was one of the best left-handed batsmen in Bermuda. I think his first 2 or 3 cup matches, he made 50 each game.
I'm gonna jump in here because I just mentioned Richard Baisden's name the other day and spoke about his spectacular debut. He burst onto the cup match scene just as you did, got back-to-back 50s, and Don and St. George's at that.
Yeah.
But we just got to pause for a quick moment. But before we go into the break, I just wanted to highlight the fact that as we sit here today, Somerset have the cup match trophy and Willicotts are the current holders of the Western Couters. Folks, we'll be right back with more from former legend, former cricket star, the legendary Mr. Eugene Buckwoods.
This edition of Up Close with Colin Thompson is brought to you by Lindo's Group of Companies. Why go anywhere else?